Hello, I'm William Michael of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, and when we consider the education of our kids, we've got two things to think about. We've got their formation as Catholics, which is our spiritual responsibility to God as their parents, and then we also have their preparation for life in the world, whatever they're going to choose to pursue. We've got to help them prepare for that. So we've got this double challenge to deal with. And if we were going to say what would be the best Catholic preparation for our children, it's pretty obvious that we would want to give them the education that was enjoyed by saints in the past. And when we consider what that was, we find it was the classical liberal arts, the classical Catholic curriculum, the same curriculum that we teach in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. So if we're just concerned with their spiritual development, the Classical Liberal Arts Academy would be the best bet. And I remember one time back when the academy first started, we had a family that chose to withdraw from the academy because they said, we believe that the academy would be great if our children were going to pursue religious vocations, but because we're interested in their secular vocations, we'd like to do something else. And that's understandable. It's obvious that the study of the classical liberal arts, classical philosophy, Catholic theology, and so on provide the best Catholic formation. It's the education of the saints and wise men of the past. So that's obvious. And in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, if you look through our curriculum, you can just see it's Catholic paradise. Just great Catholic classical studies, the exact same studies that most of the saints enjoyed throughout history. So that's easy. Catholic formation is easy. But what about this secular stuff? And when we talk about education, you don't educate a kid to become a carpenter or a plumber. Manual trades are best learned through apprenticeship programs run by labor unions and things like that. The electricians union, the carpenters union, the plumbers union. If they offer apprenticeship programs, that's the best way to learn because you get paid to study and you go right into the field and begin working from day one. That's how my father learned to be an electrician. He entered as an apprentice right out of high school. So manual, mechanical arts, the best way to learn those trades is to do them. That's why we talk about how in the old days, kids would take up the trades of their fathers. That's because we're talking about mechanical trades. We're not talking about intellectual fields or learned professions and stuff like that. We're talking about manual labor, mechanical trades, things like agriculture, carpentry, all those trades. And again, I was raised in a mechanical family where all of my uncles and cousins and grandparents were working class craftsmen. So I know that world, and the best way to prepare for that life is to go get into it, if possible, and find an apprenticeship somewhere. But if we're talking about secular professions, in any learned professions like medicine, law, accounting, business, on and on through intellectual professions, politics, and so on, they're all going to require college at some point. You can argue that business doesn't really require college. And that would be true if you wanted to pursue, entrepreneurial work, but most professions are going to require a college degree. And so we have to consider how to prepare our kids for college. Excuse me. So that we can leave as many doors open as possible. That's what I advise parents. That's what I've advised my own kids. I've always advised my kids to work and study, to leave as many doors open as possible, because divine providence is going to close doors. You don't have to worry about that, but it's in your power to to keep as many doors open as possible until the time in your life finally comes where you've got to choose something. And going to college is a good way to keep as many doors open as possible. There's an old saying. The saying is, it's better to be a samurai in the garden than to be a gardener in a war. And what that means is, some might think samurai training, let's say in Japan or wherever the samurais were, Japan or China, it's better to train to be a samurai and end up being a gardener with samurai training than it is to only learn how to keep a garden and be thrown into war, which is a situation that demands more highly trained skill. So you can't overtrain in life, you can't overstudy, but you can certainly understudy and get yourself trapped. And that's what I advise kids to try to avoid. So when kids say, why do we have to study? The answer is because you want to leave as many doors open as possible. That's why. You don't want to start closing doors when you're 12 years old. So that's the goal. We should prepare our kids for college admission so that those doors are open and they could pursue it if they want to. If something else comes up, they have other interests, a different vocation really becomes clear for them, the doors are open and they choose something else, that's fine. But to close doors is foolish. And in education, the goal of an educator should be to help students have as many doors open as possible as they enter into young adulthood. So we should prepare our kids for college admission. Now, when you look at the Classical Liberal Arts Academy and you ask, well, is this good for college admission? The answer is no. The answer is no. It's not good for you to study classical grammar, classical reasoning, classical rhetoric, classical mathematics, classical philosophy, and Catholic theology to prepare for college admission. The reason why is because colleges have admission requirements. And so in order to prepare for college, we have to look at the admission requirements that the colleges publish, and we have to make sure that they're done, or else there's nothing to talk about. It doesn't matter how intelligent a kid is or how beautiful his Catholic formation is. If he hasn't studied algebra, he's going to get denied admission to a decent college. So we've got to learn what the minimum requirements are, and we've got to make sure that they're fulfilled. Now, the good news is that the minimum requirements for college admission are not very great. We've got to be careful that we don't allow college admission to become an end in itself and actually crowd out what Pope Pius X called the sacred subjects, or more sublime subjects of theology and philosophy. We can't crowd them out by just recklessly going all in on college admission or career preparation and neglect the real foundation of Catholic education. So we have to find a way to efficiently satisfy the modern college requirements, and then add to that modern college prep education the riches of a classical Catholic education. And that is certainly doable. And so is the Classical Liberal Arts Academy a place where kids can prepare for college admission? Absolutely. In fact, I would say it's the only place really where a Catholic student could prepare to be a Catholic college student with a solid Catholic philosophical, classical liberal arts theological foundation, right? That's what we should desire. Not just that a kid who's been to church can get admitted into a college, but that a kid who is growing up in the church can get a solid Catholic formation intellectually that prepares him to enter into college and actually do well as a Catholic. That's the challenge. And again, no educational program can cause a child to believe and obey. That's all grace. But it's our duty as parents to put our children in position to do well if they seek grace and if they collaborate or cooperate with God's grace. The scripture says that by raising kids, not the scripture, the catechism says that by raising children rightly, we can dispose them rightly to faith. We can actually make them ready for that grace, but we can't force them into it in any way. That's ultimately between them with their free will and their relationship with God. So we as parents have to separate the results from our duties, and we have to ask, how can I best fulfill my duty as a Catholic parent? I want to keep these doors of college admission open. I want to give my child a college prep education that checks all the boxes for college applications and things like that. But at the same time, I don't want to do so at the expense of my spiritual duty, which is to give my children a Catholic education. So in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, we offer, it's just being made available now, we offer a high school study program that is a college prep program that efficiently, and that's the key word, efficiently satisfies modern college admission requirements, while also allowing the kids to add to that education a rich classical Catholic study program. And it's not available anywhere else where we can see both of those things offered at the same time. Now this may sound theoretical, but I just want you to understand that I have 3 kids in college. 3 kids in college, 2 of them they all chose to stay local. Our family is very close, and they chose to study right here. 2 of them have gone to UNC Charlotte, and 1 of them just is getting started at local community college, and then transferring either to UNC Charlotte or out to UNC Wilmington because their grandparents live out by the beach where Wilmington is. So, but anyway, I've got 3 kids in college. We've already been through the college admission process. My kids have had nothing except Classical Liberal Arts Academy studies. Nothing else. That's all that they had. They've all been admitted to college. They're thriving in college, and even better, their tuition is paid in full because they all chose to enter the military, go into the reserves, and then go into the ROTC program. My oldest son, Jonathan, he's a platoon leader in the ROTC program at UNC Charlotte. He's at school with his tuition, everything paid. He was recently offered the ROTC scholarship, which is an additional option for him, but he's already got his tuition paid. He's already contracted as a cadet. My daughter Elizabeth is a combat medic. She's also in the reserves. She's also in the ROTC program, 4.0 student in college, doing really well. And then, like I said, my next son, David, is just getting started at the local community college. He's planning just to get some credits there so that he can transfer in to another college. But we've had no problem with college admission. Like I said, my kids chose to stay local and go to school right here in Charlotte, where they've got a good ROTC program, and they like the city of Charlotte. But there's been no problems. So any talk about, well, this is not going to get them into this or that or that, it's not true. My kids could get admitted into more selective colleges. Like I said, my daughter Elizabeth is a 4.0 student. They just wanted to stay local. But we've been through that whole process. We've been through the admissions process. We've already seen, what things might be an issue. For example, they look at high school GPA on a transcript. They would like to see a GPA over 2.8 to place out of first level courses like first level English and math courses. They look for a B average to place out. That's an important goal to aim for. They look for the high school maths through Algebra 2. that's another thing to make sure that we get taken care of. But outside of that, there's really nothing else. And our transcript was received not only by the military, but by colleges and things like that. They never asked any questions about their classical studies or Catholic studies. And they've been given awards and scholarships and all kinds of stuff. So I'm completely confident and can tell other parents that what's available in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy is sufficient for college admission. That's not an issue. And I think the benefits that we offer are that our program is so affordable. It provides for college prep in an efficient way. It also provides for rich Catholic formation, satisfies all the requirements for college admission, and I just think it's the best option that's available. I mean, I've worked to make it so with my own kids in view, thinking about our family as a large family, what we can do and can't do, real life challenges of sustainability, affordability, and all these different things. And I think our program is the best option. So college admission in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy is not a problem at all. Now, what I would recommend is that families simply use our high school program to satisfy all the college prep requirements and just knock them off. Our transcript is a good-looking transcript that provides everything the colleges are looking for. The greatest advantage of our program over other programs is the fact that our program is available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year for the kids to retake quizzes and tests, resubmit assignments, raise all of their grades, and so on. And there's no reason why students in our program can't graduate with very high grade point averages on all of their subjects, because they can just retake and raise their scores as much as they want to. So there's no, one-time test and too bad, that's your grade. You don't have to worry about that stuff, because I'm willing to grade the kids' assignments even if they submit them 100 times. I'll keep working to help raise their grades. I've always been committed to that as a teacher, and our quiz system is, like I said, open 24 hours a day for the kids to study and quiz and re-quiz and so on, just raising their grades. So not only will they have a great transcript with all of the college prep requirements there, but they can raise their grades and have a high GPA to prepare for college admission. The other thing is they can take that college prep, that core college prep curriculum, which the college is looking for, and then add to it all of the classical Catholic studies, which no other kids have access to. So I think that the Classical Liberal Arts Academy offers Catholic families the best option for college preparation, not just because of how our high school program works, but also because of the ridiculous, number of classical Catholic courses that can be added to that transcript that just put kids out in front of any of their peers in terms of challenging studies and things like that. So what the kids need to get into college, they have to have the 5 subject areas: English, foreign language, math, science, and history. They've got to have those, and I recommend having them for 4 years on a transcript. And that's exactly what we provide in our high school program. SAT prep, from 2000, I guess from now until at least 4 years, I'm seeing colleges not even requiring kids to have SAT scores. So that doesn't even seem like it's going to be an issue for the next 3 or 4 years. Basically for these COVID years, to kind of flush out of the high school system, they're not even going to ask them to take SATs and stuff like that. So it's a great opportunity for kids to put together an impressive transcript and hop right into these schools, because they're not going to be looking for SAT scores even, which is just an advantage for a kid with a strong transcript. For me, like as an example, when I was in high school, I did poorly in high school because I was a goofball, but I was smart and I had a high SAT score. So SAT score for me was key for admission, whereas for a kid who's got a strong transcript, to be able to apply without an SAT required, it's just an advantage. So the SAT doesn't seem like it's a problem, and even if the SAT does become a requirement again in the future, I was an SAT prep teacher. I was an SAT essay scorer, so developing resources for the kids for SAT prep will never be a problem. So don't be deceived to think that because we offer such a great Catholic formation program that we would only be useful if a kid is interested in religious life. It's not true. We also offer a high school program that efficiently satisfies college prep requirements, has already proven successful with my own kids going to school, and other students as well who I know have moved on to colleges and things like that. There may be some things they have to do here and there because they neglected math or they did something instead of something else and they had to clean that up, but they're all doing fine and moving on with college studies and career preparation. So no one can ever use the excuse that you can't pursue a classical Catholic education and move right on to modern college studies. Another issue is accreditation. There are homeschool programs that tell parents that you need to attend an accredited homeschool program for college admission. That's completely false. Just complete false salesmanship, telling parents to be anxious about accreditation when there's no one. It doesn't even make sense. There's no way that a college would even know if a homeschool program was accredited or not. It just makes no sense at all. Not necessary. No one ever asks for any such thing in college admission. And parents have to not allow themselves to be duped by that stuff, being told, oh, you have to do this to get. It's not true at all. I actually published an article titled Accreditation is Not Necessary for Homeschools. And if you look up that article, I'll put a link in the comments. If you look at that article, I actually had admission representatives from the most selective colleges in the country write back to me and make it clear that accreditation is not necessary. So if anyone says that, you can just take those quotes and ask them, what are you even talking about? The colleges right here have told Mr. Michael that you don't need to be accredited to go to college or to be considered for admission. So you have to realize that that's just false information, and you don't need to worry about those things. You need to get the high school studies done, enrich the curriculum with as much classical Catholic studies as possible. If they become necessary, do well on SAT tests, but like I said, for the next 3 or 4 years, it doesn't even look like they're going to be looking at SAT scores, and kids will have no problem moving on to college with a classical Catholic education. So as parents, we can fulfill our Catholic duty to give our kids a Catholic education while also fulfilling our natural duties to help them prepare for their adult life so that they can grow up and have all of these doors open to them and move on into independent adult lives. So don't be afraid of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy and college admission. It's a non-issue. We've had no problems with that. We've already had kids come up through and go to college, and we can talk about the details of preparing kids for admission to specific colleges and programs if that becomes an issue. If there's a certain, you say, oh, we really want our kid to get admitted to this engineering program. Well, there might be some, individualized preparation needed for that specific program, and that's how that should be handled. But to pretend that there's just some special course that needs to be followed for college, that's not true. There's a very simple plan for college admission, and then if there are specific goals for more selective or the most selective programs, it just needs to be customized to prepare the kid for that program. So that's a separate issue. But no problem at all with college admission in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. It's an excuse that parents will use to justify not giving their kids a historical Catholic education, but it's a false excuse. There's no problem whatsoever, no conflict at all between classical Catholic education in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy and modern college admission. Not an issue. If you have any questions, please send them along. I'm happy to get into all the details, help you understand what's required and things like that, what you need to do, help with the application process, transcripts. Another benefit of working with me is that I can write reference letters for the kids and help them out by testifying to their studies and things like that. So whatever help you need, whatever questions you have, just send them along. I'll help you sort through all the stuff and get the kids prepared. I hope that's helpful. God bless.